Good day to each and everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third lecture series for the subject Introduction to Criminology. And the topics that will be discussed in this video presentation is about the history of criminology. No? So lesson 2 ay tungkol po sa worldwide perspective. And lesson 3 would be the history of criminology here in our country. Okay? So what are you waiting for? Kindly take down notes, no? Sa mga importanteng detalye tungkol po dito sa ating pag-uusapan. So let us proceed to the worldwide perspective about the history of criminology, no? Yan. So, paano nga ba nag-umpisa yung pong criminology, no? So, criminology, ladies and gentlemen, truly began in Europe in the late 1700s and early 1800s, no? When the classical school was introduced. However, prior to the existence of the classical school of criminology, which was introduced by its proponent Cesar Bonesa Marchese de Beccaria, no? And Jeremy Bentham as the proponent of the utilitarian hedonism, ay meron pong nag-appear na mas naunang teorya at yun po yung tinatawag pong pre-classical school of criminology, no? The pre-classical school of criminology existed or appeared within the period of 17th and 18th century in Europe, wherein that time Europe was dominated by a scholasticism of Saint Thomas Aquinas. The dominance of religion in state activities was chief characteristics of the time. And people during the time, of course, believed in the existence of God, of course, and in the other side, the devil. And because of this, the demonological theory of criminality was introduced. At ano nga ba yung pong demonological theory, no? Na sinasabi. Okay? The demonological theory explained that if a person commits a crime, such person is being possessed by a devil. Okay? Because they believe that if a certain person is possessed by a devil, no, then that's the time that he or she can commit a crime. At para mawala yung pong devil, yung pong demonyo doon po sa kanyang katawan, you need to impose harsh and barbaric punishment like beating, diba? Stoning, tutuhugin, ganyan, and so on and so forth. And the demonological theory, ladies and gentlemen, is a product of theological philosophy. Okay? Ayan. So this is based on religious philosophy na kung saan wala namang scientific basis. Okay? Ganon. That is the pre-classical school of criminology. Then later in late 1700s, in early 1800s, the classical school of criminology appeared. Okay? So the classical school of criminology was brought to light in the late 1700s and early 1800s. Okay? Wherein the classical school of criminology is known as the first organized theory of crime that linked causation to appropriate punishment. The classical school followed Beccaria's ideology, which is focused on the study of crime and not the criminal. Okay, that's why if a certain person committed a crime, regardless of age, gender, social status, okay, if you commit a crime, then you need to be punished, no matter what. Okay? And then not mainly focused on criminal, but it is more focused on the study of crime. That's why it was believed that the classical school of criminology is the one which introduced the penology. Okay? Wherein if a certain person commit a crime, the crime should be punished. The basis of punishment is the crime that was committed. The classical school of criminology focused on the principle of deterrence, instead of punishment. The classical school of criminology came up with important theories for behavior of criminals that is still commonly used today, no? And who are the proponents of this classical school of criminology? Okay, it was Cesar Vicaria, also known as the father of criminology, no? And we have also Jeremy Bentham, no? Jeremy Bentham is also the one who introduced the utilitarian hedonism, okay, wherein he explained that man by nature seeks pleasure and avoid pain. And they also introduced the hedonistic calculus, that a certain person have the free will, to commit a crime, and he calculate pain from pleasure. Ito yung utilitarian hedonism. Yan. Then, although torture was taking place all over the continent, especially for confessions and testimonies, classical school believed torture to be wrong. According to classical school of thought, crimes are committed, consequences should be strong enough to deter other people from the crime and should be, ano ang sabi noon, So, kailangan yung pong punishment na ibibigay ay sapat para po mapigilan yung iba na huwag pamarisan yung pong taong nag-commit ng krimen, no? So, according to the classical school of thought, crimes are committed through free will. Meron silang kalayaan para isagawa yung krimen. May kalayaan yung isang tao para isagawa yung kanyang binabalak. People know that they are doing and should be punished. Okay? So those harsher than the criminal gain. So the punishment should be harsher than the gain. Mas mataas po dapat yung pong punishment or yung pong pain na matatanggap kaysa doon po sa pleasure na nakuha niya anong ginawa niya yung krimen. Okay? They did explain that criminal justice system drastically needed to be modernized and improved. At that time, criminal justice included painful torture such as stretching, crushing, and stabbing of the accused bodies. The classical school aimed to improve the system partly by limiting or eliminating the torture. It marked the beginning of great progress for criminal justice system. Okay? So this classical school of criminology is already based on philosophy. It is based, or it is not based on theology. It is based on the philosophical movement of Cesar Vicaria and Jeremy Bentham. And ano na po yung gamit dito noon, hindi na po theological, kundi metaphysical. When we say metaphysical, this is already the stage wherein human beings attribute effects to abstract or philosophy, but poorly understood causes because they have no scientific basis in their proof, or they have no scientific basis of proof, okay, about their study. Ayan. So wala pang scientific basis of gathering data and facts sa panahon ng classical school of criminology. Then the classical school of criminology followed by the neoclassical school of criminology the neoclassical school of criminology followed the classic school and brought with it a few revision. So the neoclassical school continues the tradition of classical school that people need to be punished if they committed the crime, no? Within the framework of right realism. Okay? Right realism. Ito po yung na-introduce nitong neoclassical. Ito po yung tama daw, yung pong right realism. Sabi niya, no? O bakit sinabing right realism, ladies and gentlemen? Because according to this, no? Those children and lunatics should not be included in the punishment because they cannot ascertain what is right from what is wrong. No? Na kung saan ngayon naging basis po ng tinatawag na accepting and justifying circumstances. No? Na kung saan meron pong taong exempted if he committed a criminal liability. Hence, the utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham in his Arbitration remains a relevant social philosophy in policy terms for using punishment as a deterrent through law enforcement, the courts, and imprisonment. No? What are the few revisions of the classical school? No? Few revisions include the exemption of children's and lunatics, as I have stated a while ago, because they cannot ascertain, no, and calculate what is right from what is wrong, no. Ayan. Then the next school that was introduced, no, after the neoclassical school is now what we call as the Positivist school of criminology. Okay? The Positivist school of criminology was inspired by the work of a French philosopher, Auguste Comte, okay? Wherein he formulated a form of empiricism, which he called positivism or positive philosophy. When we say positive philosophy, no, the explanation of this philosophy is based on the scientific observation or scientific research. No? They have a basis, no, in coming up with their theories. Okay? So there is already a scientific procedure na kung tawagin. No? And this theory, no, yung pong positivism was introduced by the father of sociology, Augusto Comte, inspired Cesar Lombroso and applied it in the field of criminology. That's why the Positivist School of Criminology, no, the father is no other than Dr. Cesar no, Lombroso. Okay? Because he applied the use of scientific principles in explaining the causes of crime. Okay? At dahil doon, siya po'y tinagurian na father of modern criminology by introducing, no, the school or the Positive School of Criminology. Lombroso researched the link between criminality and physical attributes. So nag-research po siya. So meron na po siyang scientific explanation. Okay? Kaya po tinawag ng positivist. When we say positivist, ladies and gentlemen, the theory that you have introduced is based, no, from your research. Therefore, there is a scientific explanation. However, the first person who introduced that, no, in the field of criminology is Dr. Cesar Lombroso, which was inspired by the French philosopher Auguste Comte, the father of sociology. Ayan po, no, yung pong Positivist school. Okay? And the or positivist school of criminology believe that all people are different both intellectually and physically. Punishment within the positivist school thought would not be theoretically possible within all criminals, and those cannot be fixed should be killed. Lombroso created with being the father of criminology and father of the positivist, no, or positivist criminology, or the empiricism, no, of criminology, or empirical criminology kung tawagin. At dito sa kanyang positivist school of criminology, or yung sa kanyang positivist theory, no, he explained that criminals are sick individuals and they should not be punished, hence they should be cured. Kailangan na inaalagaan po sila, nire-reform po sila, at hindi po pinaparusahan. So yun po ang kanyang inintroduce. Okay? So we will discuss further the theories, no, and explanation of criminal, no, when we reach criminals. Okay? The theories with explaining why a certain person committed crimes, no? Nandun ulit yung pong positive or positivist theory. Okay? Then next is the Chicago School of Thought, no? The Chicago School of Thought, ladies and gentlemen, was presented in 1920s by Robert A. Park and Ernest Burgess. They study related criminology to sociology and provided research on concentric zones or zones in transition where people tend to be more criminally active than others. Okay? So, aside from that, no, ano pa yung kanilang na-introduce, kung makikita natin, ito po ay may part, sinasabi, no? May part lang sila na kung saan nag-conduct sila ng research, at may part po na yung mga tao ay nagkukumit ng krimen. Okay? And their theories will be explained later on the theories and causation of crime. Okay? So at least you have an idea na meron pong Chicago School of Thought of Criminology after the positivist theory. Pero ito, positivist na rin po ito, no? Dahil ito po ay based on scientific research. Okay? Ayan. Then the Chicago School of Thought also determined that crimes tend to be taught by older criminals whom may be associated with their personality or professionally. So kung sino yung madalas mong kasama, no, pwede mong mapag-aralan yung pong krimen kanyang ginagawa. Yan, no? That is the Chicago School of Thought. Now we will proceed to contemporary criminology. Thus, sabi dyan, criminology today includes categorizing criminals' motives, whether they are instrumental or expressive. Now, combining all of those theories, no? So there is now what we call as contemporary criminology, wherein a lot of theories are being introduced. Okay, there are a lot of theories which appeared, no? Explaining crimes, explaining the causation of crimes, why a certain person commit crimes, no? Why a certain crime being committed, no? And today, no, there are already a lot of categories, no, of criminals based from motives, no? And this will be discussed later on in the theories, no, and causation, no, of crimes. Okay, so contemporary or modern criminology. Okay, although some of the principles in the different schools was adopted, no? However, there is little changes when it comes to the rehabilitation of offenders, when it comes to the response, no, of the government in order to solve the crimes. Okay? So, lahat ng theories na ngayon is, of course, patterned from the positivist school. So, usually, positivist school of criminology wherein the researches are based from scientific researches. Okay? Ayan. So, yan po yung kabuuan ng history ng criminology from worldwide perspective, no? So, sa ating tatandaan, ang criminology, nag-umpisa po yan sa Europe, then yan po'y inadapt na ng iba't ibang bansa. Okay? Yan. Then let us now discuss, or let us proceed to the next slide. That is all about the history of criminology in the Philippines. Okay? Paano nga ba nag-umpisa yung pag-aaral tungkol sa krimen dito sa Pilipinas? Okay? So, umpisahan po natin doon po sa pagbasa ng batas. Kasi kung walang batas, wala namang krimen. Pag in-apply natin yung tinatawag pong principle of logomacy. Nolum crimen, nulla poena similehe. There is no crime when there is no law, panis in such. Okay? So bago po nag-umpisa, yung pong field of criminology, bago nagkaroon ng criminology profession, no, ay syempre meron pong mga batas. Okay? So meron po yung batas noon, nung sinaunang panahon dito sa Pilipinas, yung tinatawag pong Code of Kalanchaw or the Kalanchaw Code, which appeared in 1433. Okay? Yan. Noong 1930, no, dito na sa Pilipinas, then naipasa po yung primary source of criminal law, no, sa ating bansa, and that is no other than Act number 3815. Okay? So the Act number 3815 was enacted or made on December 8, 1930 and signed on December 8, 1930. It commenced or started or it was implemented, okay, in our country, that is Republic of the Philippines, of course, no, in 1932. Okay? 1932. So meron ng batas na ipinapatupad. Pero noong 1932 ay wala pa pong criminology school dito sa Pilipinas. So yung pong mga law enforcement agencies or personnel of law enforcement agencies, no, ay galing po sa iba't ibang profession. Okay, syempre, nung may naipasa ng batas, may na-violate na. Pag na-violate ang batas, anong tawag po? Crime. No? If the criminal law is violated, then the act is considered a crime. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ay nag-appear na yung pong krimen dahil marami nang ipinagbawal. Okay? So, any act which is not in conformity with the provision of Act number 3815 is considered as a crime. Kaya anong nangyari, no? Noong 1954, no, the Plaridel College, now known as the Philippine College of Criminology, offered, no, for the first time, no, and the first school which offered criminology as a course. It was established by Manila Police Major Eliseo Dibar. No? May police major na pero wala pang kursong criminology. Okay, they came from different professions, from sociology, no, from engineer, no, from engineering, no, and other profession. Okay, because it was only 1954 that the criminology course was offered, no, in Plaridel College, na ngayon po ay PCCR kung tawagin, or Philippine College of Criminology. No, sinong nag-establish? Tatlo po sila. That is Manila Police Major Eliseo Vivar, Dr. Pedro Solis of the National Bureau of Investigation, no? And the Supreme Court Associate Justice Felix Bautista Angelo. So tatandaan, kailan nagkaroon po ng criminology course, no, dito sa Pilipinas? That is in 1954. And the first school which offered criminology is the Plaridel College. Okay? Ganun po siya. Then, in early 1960s or part of 1960s, criminology course was offered by the University of Manila, Abad Santos College, both in Metro Manila, University of Visayas, no? In Cebu City, University of Mindanao in Davao City, University of Baguio, okay, in Baguio City, and in all regions of the country. Yan, no? So yun po yung history niya. Yan po. Then on July 1, 1972, okay, Republic Act number 6506 was enacted. Kasi nakita nila, abay, marami nang nag-e-enroll sa kursong Bachelor of Science in Criminology. Pero noon, wala pa pong board exam ang criminology. Okay? Kaya anong ginawa? Noong July 1, 1972, Republic Act number 6506 was enacted. It is an act creating what? Creating the Board of Examiners for Criminologists in the Philippines and for other purposes. So what was created under 6506? Board of Examiners for Criminologists. So ibig sabihin ay may na-create na board, sila po yung gagawa ng examinations para magkaroon na ng license. Okay? So that was in 1972. Ibig sabihin, mula 1954, kung kailan inoffer or unang inoffer ang criminology, noon ay wala pa pong board exam. So hanggang 1972, may naaprubahan yung Republic Act number 6506 na kung saan ito po yung nag-create ng Board of Criminology which is responsible for creation of board examination. Oh? So Section 1 provides that there shall be created Board of Examiners for Criminologists, no, in the Philippines to be composed of the chairman and 2 members. Okay? So, yun po ang provision ng batas. Then on November 8, 2018, ano, ay naipasa naman yung pong Republic Act number 11131. Okay? So, November 8, 2018, Republic Act number 11131 was approved. It is an act regulating the practice of criminology profession in the Philippines. Board of Examiners for Criminology was also renamed to Professional Regulatory Board for Criminologists, no? So yun po ang naging changes. That is just 2018. Okay? However, prior to that pala, no? Gusto ko ring i-introduce sa inyo yung pong kauna-unahang mga tao na naging Board of Examiners for Criminologists. Okay? So ang mga kauna-unahang Board of Examiners for Criminologists ay walang iba kundi si Dr. Sixto De Leon bilang chairman, no? We have also Attorney Virgilio B. Andres and Jaime S. Navarro as members. Okay? So, sila po yung kauna-unahang Board of Examiners for Criminology. Okay? Noong naipasa yung pong Republic Act number 6506. No? 1972 naipasa yan. Pero dahil po sa martial law, no? 1987 na nagkaroon ng kauna-unahang Board of Criminology, 1987. Okay? Yan. 1987, nagkaroon po ng board exam. No? So, sa ngayon, yung pong Board of Examiners for Criminologists that was created under RA 6506 is now known as the Professional Regulatory Board for Criminologists, or yung tinatawag na ngayon na PRB. Okay? So at present, there are 545 criminology schools entire the whole country. No? That is approximation, pero baka mas marami pa, more or less 600 na po ngayon. No? And further, the course entitled or title was changed from College of Criminology into College of Criminal Justice Education. Kasi may mga bago na naman na discipline na na-introduce under the Criminal Justice Education, at yun ang dahilan kung bakit pinago po from College of Criminology to College of Criminal Justice Education. At ang isang sangay nga niyan ay yung pong kursong criminology. Okay? So, yan po yung history of criminology here in the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen. At doon po sa 545 schools, or more or less 600, kasama na po yung mga walang license to operate, ay maaaring isa sa mga schools na yan, yung pinag-enrollan mo. Okay? Yan. So, kung naka-enroll ka sa isa sa school na yan, mapalad ka, kaibigan. You made the right choice. Okay? Because there is a great career waiting for you after passing the licensure examination for criminologists. Okay? So, thank you very much for listening to this short video presentation, and I hope that you have learned something. Kung meron kang natutunan, huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe at i-click yung bell button. I-hit mo na rin yung all para ma-update ka kung meron tayong bagong video. Once again, ito po ang inyong abang lingkod, ang inyong kapangarap, Sami Bingwasan Istoke. Maraming salamat and good day to each and everyone.